All right, we're as live as we're gonna get, guys. So. Yes, can you hear me? All right. I would like to call the October 4th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Cicero Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Ms. Mosley, please call the roll.
Here. Here. Here.
Here. Take note of the fire exits located in the front and rear of this room. At this time, please silence all cell phones and pagers. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Has everyone read the minutes of the September 13th, 2021 meeting? Does anyone have any corrections?
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes from September 13th,
I'll
2021.
second the motion.
Ms. Mosley, please call the roll.
Yes, the motion.
Yes to the motion.
Yes to the motion.
Yes to the motion. The Cicero Town Board acknowledges the importance of full public participation at all public meetings, and therefore we urge all who wish to address those in attendance to please come to the microphone located in the front of the room. At this time, I will make a motion that all actions taken tonight are type 2 actions and have a negative that is no impact on the environment unless otherwise indicated. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Mosley, please call the roll.
Yes, yes, correct.
Oh.
Yes, the motion.
Yes to the motion.
Yes to the motion.
Yes to the motion. We have proof that all items on tonight's agenda have been advertised as directed by law. I will briefly review the process for tonight's meeting for the benefit of those that have never been before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Each applicant will have an opportunity to describe their project. The board will then ask questions about the project. I will then open a public hearing where people will be able to speak for or against the proposed variance. The applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to public input and provide additional information. Board members will then again have the opportunity to question the applicant. The board will openly discuss amongst ourselves the 5 factors that contribute to the final decision. Please note that this board does not have a pre-agenda meeting, so there is no prior discussion of cases outside of this meeting. And finally, a motion will be made either approving or denying the requested variance, seconded and voted upon. So our first case tonight is an application for 5440 Jerome Street. The applicant is Donald Stewart. Please come up and address the board. Good evening.
Good evening.
Is working.
Yes.
Yes.
Like the old days.
Yeah.
I have some photographs I've taken in between my travels. If it's okay to approach and it's out.
Absolutely.
I don't know if anybody's been up to the property. We used to go up once in a while and.
Hopefully we've all been out there.
Yep.
I know I was out there again today.
Oh, come this way. Thanks.
The stakes that are present, you guys that have been up there, you can see that that's the proposed, or it's already been surveyed at that prior to this meeting. Basically, it's a lot line adjustment on the side adjustment between the houses, moving it 4 feet to the center between the houses. Makes it more equitable in case of a in the future, a setback with a fence, with the ability to put a fence up, with selling 5440, which was my father's property, without going into a big, long spiel. Both of those properties were one at one time. And it was sold to my father. They didn't really care much back then about the property lines, as we all know. And basically, it's about a foot off of my chimney, and it would definitely impinge being able to get into the backyard. So with my brothers and sister, we decided that we would try to subdivide. I've got in the description, it's 51.79 feet. The rear property line would become part of 5444 upon the completion of the estate paperwork, with the board's permission, of course. And the property line itself, where the stake is between the houses, has been moved 4.42 feet to the center between the houses, which would give enough setback for a fence in the future if it was necessary, I guess, depending on who your neighbors are. The adjustment to the rear of the property still retains 223.60 feet of road frontage for the 5440 address, which is at the corner of Jerome and Chestnut. And it would allow me to have access to the backyard, my backyard, giving me that, for you guys that have been back there, the rear driveway with the small shed that me and my father had put together years ago. I know you guys have been up and down that road a lot, so you know where it is. And the trimaran's gone too, so that's a boat yard,
Saw
so
that.
there's no more boats in the backyard.
Now, could you clarify that number? You said a number 223. Were you adding the 171 and the 52.6?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I'm
fine.
sorry.
Thank you.
Basically, that's really all I'm asking, is if we can do that. And the house is up for sale at this time, and just want to get it all finalized before we do make a sale for the purchaser.
So just to boil down what you were saying, the first adjustment that you want to do is the lot line between the two houses to give yourself a little bit more room.
Right,
And then the second adjustment is to actually take away a piece of property from 5440 and give it to 5444 to not only allow access to your backyard, but to a shed that.
correct. That would be both, yeah, both actions for that. The shed on 5440 is actually, that's kind of like, has always been the equipment shed with the mowers and all the gardening equipment. But yes, just those two actions is all I'm requesting.
And Steve, the town doesn't take any issue with this kind of subdivision.
It's handled, the subdivision is handled administratively in my office. It's just that we cannot increase the non-conforming. So obviously the one parcel is becoming more compliant, but one is becoming less. So this is why we're here.
Bit of a unique situation, right? I don't know that we've ever created a definition. Sometimes we do, but this is intentionally creating a bigger nonconformity, right?
Yes. And quite a few of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of those in the town of Cicero.
No, we don't.
For sure.
No,
It's
it's,
just, we typically try to avoid these situations, but I get it.
and I think most of the lots right through there are all non-conforming.
Are we looking at 3 or 4 different actions here, or are we looking at just the 2?
Two.
Just the 2, okay.
Well,
Looks like
yes, but there's incidental.
there's incidentals, right?
some incidental consequences of having to do what we're
Right.
doing.
So it becomes a density issue too, right?
Yeah, it does.
Right.
Lot coverage
Yeah.
and side yard setback.
So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there were 6.
Yeah, I don't
Things that
have
need to be
the exact
adjusted.
figure. I did it quick in my head for the lot density with the addition of the new section with the 120 square foot shed. It was still in there pretty close, but there.
Any questions? Any other questions from the board before we go to public hearing?
I guess the only other thing I would say is I have talked, you guys probably did too. I've talked to the neighbors on both sides and behind me. No, there's no issues or any problems with it. It's not really going to affect any of their properties anyway, or any of the actions that take place there are by me and certainly not going to affect the neighborhood.
How did you determine how much of the, I guess, the backyard of 5440 to trim off? You know, you're coming, what, 52 feet or so from the back? How did you come up with that number?
I actually didn't, Mr. Rabia. I
Okay.
left that to Scott Whitaker.
Okay,
He took a whole entire measurement of the lot and made sure that, to make sure the density was okay. And I had him pick out that figure. I would originally started out at like 39 feet.
Okay.
40 feet. And I said, you do your calculations and you pick it before you survey it.
and the reason why I'm asking is if it was a little bit more, we could avoid the density issue, right? If we made it, right? Am I thinking about this right? If it
Yeah.
was a little bit
Yes.
bigger, we could make, because I think I didn't do the calculation, but I think what Mr. Stewart had was 21 point something or other, right? I didn't work
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
you know, I wonder if we could mitigate that one by trimming off a little, or basically making the backyard a little bit bigger on 5440 to eliminate at least one variance in this.
Yeah,
Or
I'm
not.
pulling up my calculator right now just to take a quick look at.
Yeah, 4.5 feet,
How much, right?
not much.
My figures, Mark.
What's that?
Mine, not-
Oh, those are yours. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I give,
It's okay. No,
I
no.
give
I
Steve
just
all
said,
credit
well,
now.
I'm going to say, I don't want to.
fair enough.
That's why I said I couldn't tell you, but I knew it was close.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
We're calculating.
What are you getting, Mark?
I haven't got there yet. I just realized I could do it myself, so I'm working it. So we need 20.
So I've gotten the same answer 3 times and I think it's the wrong one at this point.
Yeah, that's all.
Four, 2, 1,600. 6. I think if that went to 183 feet. Get the coverage, so that's 183, 171, it's another 12 feet. Seeing that or?
Probably could go ahead and mitigate that if the owner is,
I'm thinking if you add another 12 feet on, you would get the 20%.
The total area you're looking to.
So the total structure covered area is 1924. So if I just divide that by 0.2, that should get me so 9,620 square feet.
I see which way you're doing it.
Like 12 feet or so? Is that what you're-
Yeah.
That's what
another
I was
12 feet.
coming from. So I can move like.
Yeah, 12 feet.
So that would get us to 39.79 feet on the portion that's getting turned over. Um, Is close to 40 feet still reasonable for you for access, or?
Yeah, are you talking about going the other way, taking more property from 5440, or you're taking more property from 5444? Which
So
one are you talking
what I'm
about?
talking about is going 12 feet in this direction, if you can follow the cursor.
Okay, yeah,
So that would bring that down to 39.79 feet.
yeah, I can't really, I don't have the shed off of that. I think that would probably work. I mean, if that's what it would take to Don, I can have Scott Whitaker come back and if first, and I'll just have Scott come back and scope it. Give him a few more bucks.
Yes, definitely. If we can make it through the rest of this, we'd give a motion, everybody votes on it, and then Scott can work off of what we have
Yeah.
here.
Okay, no, I'm good with that.
As far as the other issues, I mean, this is a really unique scenario. I really don't think there's a tweakability factor here. Missing something.
And just the fence issue, Mr. Stewart, I just want to make sure I understand. So if you look at putting a potential fence up, if you go right on existing lot line, you said it was awfully close to the chimney. I guess I didn't
Yes.
get out of the car and think about that, but
Yeah, there is a nail there with a flag in it where the original one was, and now we just took it I think it's 4.1 feet west to bring it somewhere in the middle, just in case we needed a setback or I had to get a mower back between there.
I don't have any other questions.
Did anyone submit correspondence on this for or against?
No.
Okay. So with that, if there are no questions at this point, this time I will open the public hearing. Ms. Mosley, get the time. Would anyone speak for this? Would anyone speak against this? This time I will close the public hearing. Does the board have any further questions?
let's go through and each one and just make sure we're all good with what we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
Who makes the motion? If we so choose to make a motion, understand what they're going to say.
So Steve, did you do the conversion from square foot to acres? Well, if we, so
Yeah,
if
I
we,
did. It's reduced from 0.2. Boy, so you're saying you have to change that to.
yes. feet. So by my numbers, that is 0.22 acres. So the first one is 0.29. 0.22 acres. Coverage goes away.
Depth, you have to add that additional 12 feet.
Lot depth goes from 22.79 feet to 170,
Is this-
183
So
feet,
it's 171,
plus the 12.
12. So
It's
it's 183,
183.
right?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that, is it 12 on the money or was it like 12.03?
It was actually 11 something.
Was,
and I
you got, okay,
rounded it up.
maybe I got something wrong. Okay, so 12 is fine. So 183.
That leaves us with 39.79 on the. So then you also have the reduction in lot width. So we're going from 702 to 2.6 feet, where 100 feet is required. 200 feet. I did see, Steve, I don't know if we have to address this, but the total side yard, I think would have to get addressed also. I think the
Yeah, I have.
total side yard would,
Oh, the total? Well, I didn't add that just because I thought about that, but you weren't changing any, I mean, it's a front yard. It's
That's
two
true.
front yards.
that's
That's
true.
why I didn't do it.
Okay.
Really 4 then, right? We thought 6, but it's really 5. Then we eliminated 1, so now we're down to 4, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the side yard goes, 10 feet is required.
We want to, so I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but he said he need to check with the surveyor, right? So do we make it a condition or does that?
Well, I think it was more, were you okay with if we get this all down on paper, you can just give it to your surveyor
I'll
and
just
have
give
him.
it to Scott and I can have him redo it and
Okay.
submit it to the attorney for the
Okay.
sale of the house.
Okay,
Is that-
fair enough.
Perfect.
Good.
Perfect.
Okay, so we all agreed that it's 4?
I think it's
No.
4.
Okay.
As my running tally has 4.
All right. Would anyone like to discuss the 5 factors?
Give it a try.
All right,
All right.
very good. That's all we ask.
Okay, factor one, whether an undesirable change, of course. All right, factor one, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. I don't believe so. In this case, it's fairly cut and dried.
Agreed. Oh, sorry, we're into the votes. Agreed.
Agreed.
Agree.
I agree, and I would like to add that this area does have a mix of residential and commercial uses, so it's kind of consistently not consistent here.
Factor two, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than a variance? I don't believe so in this case. I believe that we have mitigated what we can mitigate, and it's a unique circumstance, and we should allow it to proceed.
I agree. I think it's one of the, I'm sorry.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, factor three, whether the requested area variance is substantial. Anytime you're expanding a nonconformity, it is substantial in my opinion, but will it have any type of substantial effect? I don't believe so.
I think that's the way to look at it. I agree. Yeah, that's exactly the right way to think about it.
I agree.
Yes, I agree. 5 variances. Substantial.
I agree, but I would also like to note that the applicant has been more than willing to adjust his lot lines to reduce the number of
Yep.
variances required. So we're appreciative of that.
Factor four, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. As Chuck mentioned, it is a mix of residential and commercial, so no, it will not.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, factor five, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, yes. But it's not impactful.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree. Megan, is you ready for the motion?
All right, I'll give it a shot too.
All right.
All right, make a motion to, number one, reduce the lot coverage from 0.29 acres to 0.22 acres,
It's the lot area, right?
lot area. To change or reduce the lot depth from 222.79 feet to 183 feet, where 200 is required. Number three, approve a reduction in lot width from 57.02 feet to 52.60 feet. And number four, approve a total side yard setback reduction from 12.42 feet to 8 feet, where a minimum distance of 10 feet is required.
Do I have a second? Steve, you're good with, okay. No, I just wanted to make sure, we caught everything.
We got it.
Ms. Mosley, when you're ready, you can call the roll.
Yes, the motion.
Yes to the motion?
Yes to the motion.
Yes to the motion. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. You know, I do. I know this was a difficult one, it was a strange one. I certainly never had seen one, but thanks for getting through it. And that, just to confirm that, and with Steve, that's 0.22 acres and that's 39 feet rather than 52.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
0.979, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know if you wanted to cover that too, but
Steve, do you think we need to get that in there, or is just reducing the one
No,
lot?
because a lot.
It's gonna
takes
follow.
care- Yeah, the lot, so it's
Okay.
100.
okay, okay. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good night.
So our second case tonight is an application for 5970 Mud Mill Road. The applicant is Ronald Baxter. Mr. Baxter, please come up and address the board.
How's everybody doing?
Good. How
Well,
are you?
thanks.
Yeah, let me, sorry.
Put the picture up.
I'm juggling quite a few things,
Okay.
as you can see.
Looking to put a metal building up, which is not permanent, can be moved. It's 20-foot wide, 45-foot deep. It's going to be in the far corner of the lot. To put a motor home in, just to get it out of the elements. Purchased the lot actually paperwork probably went through about 6-7 months ago. And it is a metal building, so it can be moved. It's gonna be strapped down for the wind and it. Yeah, I think you guys got all the paperwork on the building, right? For the
Yeah.
snow and all that. There should be pictures I gave to everybody. Where it's going.
Did you guys get the pictures?
Yep.
I think I put them with every. Could be.
So I guess the question I have that comes to mind is why right there? Why not come further back, further away from your rear property line?
The way it's angled. That's the carport there.
Uh-huh,
There's a septic, so in order to get the motor home in there,
uh-huh.
I'd have to go at that angle. To back it in there.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. So couldn't you bring the whole carport further away from the rear property line?
Not really, not in order to get the right angle on it.
And maybe maybe I don't understand the angle thing, but what
It is. There with that, you see where the septic is and all that?
I do,
Okay.
Mr. Robbie, I don't know if this helps at all.
I think if you go back to the survey, he can just explain to me there. Like I said, I'm
Yeah, in
familiar with the
order
property.
in order to go around the pole barn, in other words,
Uh-huh,
to get the motor home in there,
uh-huh.
it would be too tight. There's no way you could, I'd be up on top of the septic tank in order to swing it, the drive back in there. Septic field
But you're still gonna have to come in, over the septic field with the,
along the side of it.
Plan simply would be just to skirt the edge of the septic system, pull around and then back it in, I'm guessing, to avoid the septic field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the way I gotta figure it out is drive along the edge of the pole barn and
Yeah.
the septic.
Yeah.
And I got enough room to
Right.
maneuver that in
I
there.
guess what I'm saying is turn the carport counterclockwise, if you will, right? So envision it 20 degrees counterclockwise and bring it all towards the pole barn.
Yeah, it doesn't give me enough room to, yeah, we staked it out and there's not enough room to maneuver it. If I get closer to it. Talking about bringing the building up closer to the
Turn it more at an angle. Right, so turn it 30 degrees counterclockwise, right, the carport, and then bring it closer to the pole barn.
yeah, not enough swing.
Have to
I don't see
drive
it.
further onto the septic field. in order to
Yeah,
do
I'd
it.
have to drive on the septic to do it, and I really don't wanna.
I don't know, but if you move the carport, if you turn the carport
Bring it-
25 or 30 degrees,
Bringing it this way.
well, I'm talking about doing two things, bring it towards the pole barn and also turning it counterclockwise. I don't know, I mean, I don't see. I mean, you guys can jump in too if you have any particular heartburn, but I just feel like there's other alternatives here.
That's honestly what I got hung up on too while I was reviewing this is, you know, is this the only location where it can be? Um, just out of curiosity,
It's-
is that structure still on the back of the
That's
garage?
gonna be the part that, when I got that building, they told me I didn't have to have a permit or whatever. So that's what it is two buildings gonna be put together. That's gonna be moved in a corner. So that's gonna be the number one building.
So this is
Is-
gonna get
is-
That's
slid?
26 by 20, so I'm just gonna put a 19-foot building in front of it.
Is that not on the survey?
No, nope.
Oh,
It's so it's shown in the proposed building as part of it. But it doesn't show its current location. I think that's your question.
It's gonna be part of the building. It's gonna be in the corner.
So that was, Mr. Baxter just indicated, company purchased that erected that without a building permit. Now he's gained more land to,
I bought the. that lot.
his survey that you see doesn't
Yeah,
comport with
That's,
that pictometry there because he's got more land
I bought,
behind the building.
you bought the sliver there that says, what, you didn't buy that whole sliver, just a portion of it?
Portion of it.
yeah, yep. Yeah, when I got the building, they told me I didn't need a permit, so they put it up and I was talking to Steve and he's like, oh, you gotta have a permit for that. I'm like, oh, shit. So I figure, I trusted the company that did it.
So the carport's not 45 by 20.
That one isn't.
No,
So-
no, that's 20-foot wide by 25.5 foot deep.
And that goes away.
It's,
That's
he's
what he-
using it,
I'm
they're
using it.
doubling it, they're getting another one, putting them together.
Put them
creating one.
together. Yeah, it's a metal building, 2-inch tubes.
What's this thing? Is this what we're gonna see or
That's
no?
what it is. Yep,
That's what that is right there?
yes,
Okay.
yep,
So
I
You're just
think-
doubling the size of that existing.
yeah.
portable
yep,
Got it.
Yep.
Okay,
Got it.
Actually, I'm gonna
Okay.
get a backhoe.
It has sides on it though, on 3 sides.
okay.
Okay, okay.
2 sides?
2 sides.
That was the back and the 2 sides.
No, just the back and 1 side.
Oh, okay.
So what I was gonna do is just get a backhoe, lift it up and then just kind of position it. And that way I could park the motor home.
So regardless of what we see on the pictometry there, that structure you have to the back of the pole barn is gonna move and become one with the second one you're gonna.
Yes,
buy.
yep,
Okay, got
yep.
it. All right,
Right there, like I said, it's, I purchased a lot. I don't know if you've got a picture of it or.
The survey shows it.
Yeah.
yeah, we could see, I can see it on the
The
survey.
survey
Oh, okay.
has it.
Okay,
You
yep.
basically just
Yeah, there it is.
created a triangle from
Mhm.
them, bought a triangle from them. Again, I guess I'm stuck in, again, I don't see it. And again, we'll have to probe this a little bit as I think you can turn that 25, 30 degrees counterclockwise. Maybe drive straight into it.
So the other two questions that I'd like to ask. I understand it's not permanent, it's movable. Is there going to be a pad underneath this? What's
Stone,
gonna,
just stone.
okay, so a stone pad. Actually, I came up with another question, but so the way this is all situated, I get from the pictometry that on this side of your pole barn, you've got maybe a concrete pad and some gravel there that allows you to get past.
Yeah, there's stone along the pole barn there at the carport.
How much width do you actually need to get your
Motorhome in there.
motorhome past?
It's 40-foot long, so the oops, sorry. Wider or the more I have, the better. Might be able to come in.
I drive
I
straight.
might be able to come in a couple feet, like he's saying.
But it's not something where, I guess the other question I want to ask is, is 12 feet enough is that enough clearance to be able to get through? Because you do have the other side of your pole barn that has room to your property line. So, I'm seeing a situation where.
Talking
that
about
may
the right,
even-
the right side.
Yeah,
Yes.
that where
Yeah,
you may
that's-
even be able to turn the whole.
That's too much of a, on the right side, the pole barn, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a 3-foot, land's probably. On the right side of the pole barn.
Why not orient the carport exactly the same way as the pole barn and drive the trailer straight in or drive the mobile home straight in? Over your concrete pad and straight into the carport.
There's a canopy over that pad.
Okay.
So
Okay,
he'd still be skirting the septic.
There's you got the pole barn and then there's a 12-foot canopy. Like
mhm. So what's that driveway that I see adjacent to the pole barn right now?
to the left, well, it'd be to your right, there, right there.
Yeah, right there.
That's stone.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
that's all stone.
okay, so what I'm saying is, see where the cursor is?
Yep.
Put the pole barn, start the entrance to the pole barn right there and go straight back and align it parallel to the pole barn. Put the carport starting right there, go straight back to the rear property so you can drive straight in.
Could do that.
Trying to hide the structure from the house, just visually.
Well, that's kind of
little
what
bit.
I was hoping to do was
Yeah.
to have it behind there so you really can't see
Yep.
it out of,
No, understand.
trying to keep the
I
property
mean, it's
looking.
gonna be a
clean,
45
you know what I
by-
mean?
21 structure, so there's no hiding it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
there's not gonna be any hiding this thing.
It's gonna be rather large.
But it's, with the building back there, if you're from the road, you really can't see the.
Yeah.
That's basically what I was trying to do, is just try to get it back there, so it's, just keep the property looking clean.
Mhm.
So the two things that we've seen over the years are that these temporary structures usually aren't very temporary. They get put up and they stay where they are, especially when, you're putting a lot of money into a stone pad to be able to make sure that your motorhome doesn't sink into the ground. The other thing we've run into over the years is that the few carports that we've approved, those have almost always either turned into an enclosed garage or some kind of variation on a pole barn, because somewhere along the line, somebody decides to enclose it and put a door on it. And I can think of a specific example right by my old house where that happened. I would think whatever we would entertain here would carry some kind of condition where that stays a carport forever and doesn't become some kind of permanently enclosed structure over time. I don't know what the capabilities are with this type of construction, but that would be a strong recommendation on my part. But I'm still, I guess like Mr. Robbie is saying, I know, I still feel that there may be another way to arrange this so they can be pulled straight in.
I could come over a couple feet. Measured it out, actually drove the motor home back there. I mean, 2 more feet is basically,
I think what Mr. Robbie was talking about is just pulling the nose of it towards the pole barn.
yep.
Two things really. Yeah, that or
Pivoting the whole.
just turn the whole thing parallel to the pole barn, right? And just drive straight in.
Problem is it's 45 foot long.
Okay. So you've
Wouldn't have-
got, I don't have my scale with me. I don't know if anybody brought a scale with them, but you likely have
Is there a laser pointer up here?
more than 45 feet from
I think it'd be.
the back of the pole barn to the back property line.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
way
it
the
looks,
property's
like
angled,
80.
I think it's gonna be pretty close to that.
If I remember correctly, the existing pole barn from the original lot line was about 35 feet as required in an ag district to that property line. So it's probably 35 to the old line from the back of the existing pole barn. Well,
see, the other thing I'm saying, Chuck, is turn the whole thing and align it parallel to the,
I do.
36. So you take 36 and you run it here, he doesn't have a ton of space. 36 comes from the middle of the pole barn, 36 comes to almost the middle of the structure. If you pivot it, I know what he's saying, he can't back it in at those angles. What it looks like. If you pivot it, it doesn't appear as if he has enough room to back it in at that angle.
At first I was
That's
gonna
what
try to do that, but it's,
Honestly, I don't see how he can pivot it at the angle he's at right now. But I mean, I would think that turning it counterclockwise would facilitate that.
I can turn it probably couple feet,
Yeah.
I think what he needs.
but it's just to get off that corner. See where the corner of the overhang is? Past that and I think I figured like I can come in like two feet more and it'll.
So if you're coming in from this end, you're backing in. I'm thinking your motorhome is at least, how long is it?
As long as the carport.
Yeah, you said 40 feet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he's gonna be.
you're gonna have to at least be, your nose is at least gonna have to be out here by the time you start backing in.
He pulls alongside the pole barn, takes a left edge of the septic and then backs it in. I'm guessing that is the direction you wanted to go. You wanted to back it in to eliminate
Yeah, I was
pulling the
gonna,
unit fully out onto the septic field, right?
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, then I'm just thinking I would want to swing the mouth of the
Carport.
carport out to maybe about right
Counterclockwise,
here.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I could come out a little
And-
bit more with that.
And that would,
Yeah, that'd be no problem.
Is this a motorhome or is it,
I
is it a
think
fifth?
the more you swing,
Motorhome.
the farther away from that rear line that you can get as well.
Yeah, fifth wheel would be
Yeah.
a little easier. What's the question?
No, we were just observing,
Oh.
the more you swing the carport counterclockwise, so to speak, the farther away you can get from the rear property line.
Only thing is, if I swing it, it's gonna get me closer to the side property. Counterclockwise.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I
Yeah, It's
suppose,
gonna get me closer to.
let's
the-
see, so side,
I'm 12 foot. And if you allow 10.
yeah, you just need 10, right?
If I came in 2, that would
Yeah.
give me, that would get me on the line over there.
Yeah.
And it would give me, actually, it'd probably work out better. Right now, I believe it was what, 12 foot off the line.
Yep.
If I get 2 more foot in, that would give me to the 10-foot property line. Property, and it'd be a better angle. Keep it out back so you couldn't really see it.
no, we definitely understand that. The want to keep it out of sight. So that leaves us with trying to get some numbers.
I don't know how the heck to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, almost like you would have to think about it from a perspective of how can you turn it in? What's the maximum you can be off the rear property line? You know, again, we're trying to avoid the rear property setback's 30, right? So and you're asking for 5. So we're trying to avoid that's pretty substantial. So we're trying to figure out how to minimize the amount of the ask on the rear property line.
Lot behind me is all field. so
Agriculture,
You
yeah.
can't build anymore back there.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Actually, I talked to him the other day and he said,
Steve, is the lot 7C at the top, is that part of the neighbor's property right now?
Yes.
And they've got a huge,
I mean, or we can swing the other way. If the neighbor has no issue with it, we just roll with it, right? I mean, it's pretty substantial, but I mean, I get the issues. The neighbor has no issue. I don't know do we have any record from the neighbor saying he doesn't have any issue? Nothing.
We didn't hear from one way or the other.
Problem said they didn't have a problem with anything.
Is the same person who owns lot 5B, the same own lot 7C, or is that a different person? Who owns 7C?
7C is Mike,
If you can bring up that aerial again. So the rest of the lots have been purchased by someone else. He was the original owner, so
Okay.
5B belongs to someone else. But if you zoom out where you see the big horse barn,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the big lot, the little wedge where the horse barn.
those parcel, this subdivision's been re-subdivided a couple times.
Okay.
About attaching the whole structure to the back of the pole barn and then just pulling up behind it and putting it directly behind the pole barn.
can't swing it.
Can't swing it if you, even if you pull out on the neighbor's property just a little bit. Just check it.
What were you saying, Rob? Just so I
Just
make sure I
attach the
understand what
whole
you're
thing
saying.
right to the back of the pole barn with the opening facing the neighbor's property. And then you only got to get in there once or twice. to back it in.
I wish that the pole barn
I
was
don't
high
know,
enough.
I don't know what the condition of the ground is back in there, obviously.
No, it's solid. Yep. I wish it was high enough where I could just drive through the pole barn and into the
Through the
building.
canopy, right?
That'd be
right.
the time,
Remind me what's happening on what would be, I guess, if you go back to the survey, the right side. I guess I've never looked closely at the right side of the pole barn. What's there? Is it a drop off you said, or?
yeah, yep, it's was it 3-to-1 ratio for land? Yeah, when I built the house, and when I built it, we filled it, put a bunch of fill in there.
Okay.
So compared to that, to the prior lot, you're talking probably 4 foot higher.
But could you make that area in between the pole barn and the property line on the right usable or no?
Oh, because the land's gotta be, I believe it's 3-to-1, so.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
I think he's talking about the slope. The
Slope.
grade can't exceed.
Yeah.
I think you're suggesting you fill it in and level it out.
Correct.
I don't know if we can have a street view. Slope is there, whether or not he could straighten it out.
It's about 4 foot higher than the piece compared to the lot next to me. 10 foot over.
Is that what you're saying, to try to straighten it out?
Yeah, in order to put something up there, I'd have to fill in his lot.
Okay.
It's not gonna work. I think I mean, I could turn it in, like you said.
Yeah. I just, to your point earlier, I mean, we start turning it and then you start creating another problem on the sideline, right? You start encroaching to,
It'll get me to the 10 foot.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying
Around
is
10.
maybe we could figure out how to turn it to get you to 10, figure out how far off the back property line that turns. And there's no way we can do that here with pens and papers, but may help your swing too, maybe it'll drive in a little bit easier.
get the correct side of the road. Want to make sure.
No, it's the.
Yeah, you
it's the
got it.
front.
Yeah,
That's it.
It's the, I don't know if
That's
it's a
exactly
zoom to the back. or
Yeah, you
the-
probably can't get any
can
closer to
have-
that
you
with
can have-
street view.
You might be able to go a little west though. There you go.
See how the land slope.
Hard to see.
Not too bad right there, but the farther back you get. Higher.
July 2019.
Steve, what do you think about this?
So the concrete pad is actually under a roof, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the
The car,
septic,
it's under a carport.
yeah, the septic field includes an expansion area. Or, right, if I'm not, if I'm remembering correctly. And this is a raised bed or a mound system, right? That you have? Okay, I just can't remember where the mound was, so I understand you're trying to navigate that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I agree. I had all these same conversations with Ron about getting the whole thing either parallel to the existing building or moving it parallel to that new rear property boundary,
Right.
equidistant, so that we didn't have, but he indicated he needed to angle it so he could access it. I agree with maybe moving it counterclockwise would improve, the
Getting into it.
distance from, at that 15-foot distance, but I don't think, you're going to have to be a pivot point at 5 feet, and then you're going to get closer to the property boundary on the side.
The raised septic totally changes the perception of what he's able to do, depending on where the mound is.
Fingers are they're up in there.
Yeah.
I put the septic in myself.
Okay.
John Purdy, I don't know if you know John. Junior. And I put it in.
Something where you could sit down with Iannuzzi and come up with some ideas in the next 30 days and come back next month? Are you on any particular timeline here?
Because Iannuzzi and Romans should be able to pull out some turning templates, which for the vehicle of that size, they can tell you exactly, where you need to be.
Problem with that is every time you see them, it's $300-400.
Sure.
I already got $600 tied up in it.
Understand, but I think, as Mr. Rabia alluded to, one of our charges is to approve the minimum variances required to be able to do something like this. And with something as extreme as basically removing the backyard requirement, I think it's warranted, at least in my opinion.
Even though it can be moved, it's not a permanent building.
Well, I think you know my feelings on that, is even though we say it's not a
No, if
permanent
it
building.
came
it's
down
gonna
to where I
be there
wanted,
forever.
which I doubt I ever will, but if it
Yeah.
came down to that, I'd come back in and look for,
Yeah, we hear
we'd
that.
have to go after.
Every shed can be moved.
Yeah.
To me, it's a permanent structure.
Yeah, I
Once we
mean,
permit something, that's where it's located. That's where it's.
Chuck is
has to
right. We
remain.
can go
Yeah.
through the town and pick out 4 carports that become garages.
So before we get to the public hearing, I think it's probably warranted to do a deferment of this till the next meeting. And so we can have Mr. Baxter come back with what, he and his surveyor feel are the best orientation for this. Because the one thing I don't want to do is sit here and try and force something on you.
Right.
And then,
Not
6
work.
months down the road, you're cursing us because you can't get your.
No, I've driven the motor home back there. And if it got moved 2 feet, there's no problem getting it in there. Mark said if you move it in 2 feet, it's actually it's better, Way I had it was positioned that way is to keep it out of sight.
Well, like I said, I'm also trying to move it off the back of the property when I suggest that too, right? So I'm talking about turning and then moving it north. So I think that's the ask, is try to make that 5 feet as big as possible.
Probably go 7 or whatever it would work, or
I don't know.
And if we defer this, it's your choice whether you go back to Iannuzzi and Romans. Obviously, we're going to want to see something updated with a different location on there. But how much you talk to Enos and Romans about how that's located, that's completely up to you. What I would recommend is that you have them run a turning template on it. Because they should be able to have access to one of those, and that'll give you within reason how close you can get that away from your property line. Everybody, how's everybody feeling about that? Okay. So we're not opening the public hearing until next time. At this time, we'll make a motion to defer the case until our, I believe it's November 1st meeting. Until our November 8th meeting. I apologize. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Mosley, please call the roll.
Yes, to the motion.
Yes to the motion.
Yes to the motion.
Yes to the motion.
Okay.
Okay. So our next meeting is scheduled for November 8th, 2021. There being no other business before this board, do I have a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it, meeting adjourned.